careful. You don't want to throw anything away off the opening lap, so make sure you take the little bit of caution as a racing driver, but you don't want to throw it away. Especially around technicalities of Snetterton through 45 minutes for the first time. They make the way through the long hole as well, and back into last time going through four and then on the very close line. Also like between Cam and Blue. BMW trying to find its way through as well. They put their foot to the floor, kicks at Murray's and will try and make a move towards the number one. But they bring the BMW behind that Lotus looks mega in a straight line, and the first lap is the very least it's going to be well from Payne. Then Cox at the top three. Cox of course losing out on that opening lap to the Lotus.
Yeah, great first lap from Payne. Unfortunately, it looks like one. Golf was struggling around the mid part of the circuit anyway, so we'll see how the gold Renault machine gets on. Everyone else, though, has made it through the first lap of this 50-minute race, which is now got 47 minutes 22 seconds on the clock, where it's at quite rightly said. It really is the front three that are getting away the front of the field. So therefore you have Brown, who is maintaining his lead, and then Pete, and then Compton in third. So these three, throw a sheet over him, Zach, as they coming towards the part of the circuit.
Yeah, towards Agostini, the next braking zone for them. Are there going to be any moves? We know the Lotus is quite brave on the brakes, as we saw earlier from Matthew Moon, but I don't think that was the case on that lap. In fact, we'll start with just a little bit of lap time through Hamilton, and once again into Ollie's race is all important. It seems the Compton doesn't quite have the speeds just over the top two, at least for now. Could well be swallowed up by those behind, the likes of the 24, the 330 and the 25 of Sandler, Martin and Donahue respectively. Also don't count out the number 2 of Martin Ward, who could well be in the mix. They once again put their foot to the fore and accelerate down the Bentley straight towards Brundle and Nelson, and see if Payne can work his way into the overall lead.
Yeah, Simora looks very, very good on his brakes through the middle part of the circuit, so that's where he appears to have been making up the time, but then that's great. Towards now, Brundle and Nelson. So they began by the right there, into corner, so he's got pace. But then look at Compton. Compton has raced extremely well in that half of the lap. He is not Payne. Payne's like very, very difficult. That was got a half a second lead now. Payne will start finish line.
Could well be pretty painful for him very, very soon for the 53 as they go towards turn number 1, and well, the Lotus still unable to find a way through, but you're very right, so much later, so much more committed on the brakes, maybe in part due to a bit more aerodynamic assistance, or maybe just some bigger brake discs, some brake pads to go with it towards turn number 2. No moves being made on this occasion, but again, he's got time. 45 minutes, of course, usually the Snetterton Saloons will run a 45-minute race. They'll do a 20-minute quali, 45-minute race, but for this weekend it's been extended to a 50-minute race, which, as we were talking, you get pretty good bang for your buck. You pay 485 quid for a weekend of racing, provided obviously you've got the car, and it's one of the most cost-effective racing series that you can ever go to. A couple of away rounds as well over 2025. They went to Donington, they've got Cadwell in a couple of weeks' time, and here at Snetterton as well. So you always get plenty of track time as the Uncle Luke Snetterton Saloon. Speaking of Uncle Luke, by the way, he is in this race.
Indeed, great atmosphere, by the way, in this series. One thing to pick up, by the way, is the quickest man the circuit is going to the top of the lane. And it's somewhere in 4th position, 209.047 on that lap, and it's actually a 5-car battle for the lead now, because Martin's joined them in the 330, so the top 5 only covered by 3.5 seconds. So this race looks an absolutely fantastic scrap at the very beginning, so we've still got another 44 minutes of this to go. Obviously, including the pit stops, and let's see how this BMW battle with Lotus commences.
Yeah, very much so. It's definitely looking to be a bit of a BMW trophy towards the front end of the field, but the Lotus very nicely breaking it up. They make their way through Brundle and Nelson still down, but easily moving away. Matthew Payne trying to Morris Hopkinson just in the background as well. They pass us and bomb hole as well. A very fast right hand. When the car then gets loaded back up, presses the tyres into the ground, gives them a bit more friction, and then you've got a battle, a loss of grip through core, constantly battling the understeer, and then make sure you're being nice and careful on the brakes into Murray's that final corner, where I can see a lot of fans sat in the grandstand watching what is so far a very grand race indeed. 3.5 minutes left to go, and But it seems the progress of the Lotus ever so slightly stalled. However, the 24 of Sunderland doesn't look to be slowing down. But, well, I say relative to those in front of him, a bit slower on that last time by. Grant setting a fast lap on the race, but Cambridge is responding and managing the gap just over half a second between them.
It looks like that trio of Grant, Payne and Compton have managed to get away again. So Sunderland have brought back into view the previous lap, but unfortunately has lost second, and that's simply because Grant, Payne and Compton went quicker. So the third laps of those particular cars, Grant 208.266, Payne 208.388, and Compton 208.782. They are the first drivers to get under 2 minutes 9 in this particular race. But Payne is keeping Grant very, very honest. Now going into Agostini, heading towards Hamilton, and again the Lotus is through, the Lotus got through, and so Payne is now in the lead. And yeah, there he is. So yeah, fantastic pass again, really, really good on the brakes into Agostini, and now Mackie Payne in the lead of this race. What can Grant do about it?
Yeah, see if he's got a bit of a response, but it does seem that Lotus has the advantage on the brakes and on the straight line speed, but of course the driver at the end of the day does make all the difference, and towards Brundle and Nelson, not really an overtaking opportunity, especially in sort of such equal class of car. However, we'll find out. Naturally, Mackie Payne is in a higher class with the four denominations, A, B, C and D, and also the S class as well in a sense of saloon, but based on engine displacement, so 3.4 going the way at least of Mackie Payne. So that puts me Class A, so it's taking a little bit more power than the BMW behind, but nonetheless, doesn't slow down. We're very close to there, lapping that Renault Megane that had a couple of issues a lap ago.
Yeah, that's right. It managed to round him just before they got to Norwich, the final corner of the circuit. No, heading off the start-finish line then. So Matthew Payne and Lotus Evora now leads for the first time, but Tommy Grant behind him is keeping on. He's less than half a second back. That BMW has got some serious grub, but again, the Lotus pulls away the braking zone. So therefore into Riches now, and Riches managed to increase that gap slightly. The three two are getting away from him. So Compton is still third, Sunderland is still fourth, Martin has been dropped now by Sunderland, 4-second gap. But you've got to say, two separate battles. Payne and Grant at the front, then Compton and Sunderland third, the rest of the back between themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. That BMW does seem to be very strong coming out of corners. It's just going in that's the problem. So he needs to get creative with where he finds the gap. He obviously can't outbrake the Lotus. He very much knows that, but he can probably offside him, maybe force him into a bit of a mistake, or prioritise the exit speed and try and get the move done before the braking zone. That's the only way he's going to find his way through. In terms of raw pace, they're pretty much equal, and so too is the third place driver as well of Compton, who's there or thereabouts, maybe losing out a couple of tenths of a second. However, his focus could well be turning through into the 24 of Sandler, who is closing that gap now sub 2 seconds in the fight for P3. It does seem as well towards the front, the Lotus is sort of bridging that gap open a little bit to second place, so we'll see obviously what that can do is to keep that battle alive. Would be nice to see, because we've still got 40 minutes in this race remaining.
No retirement so far, but it entered into something of a holding pattern so far, folks. So as the leaders head towards the S's and towards the rear end of the circuit, it remains driver Simon Hill in the race, as he comes to the S's, and we're just about to see them now on pole. His rotating is definitely extended his lead at the back end of the circuit. So he's got just under a second behind Tommy Brown in second. Tommy Brown is extended for the end of this fifth lap. He remains the lowest in more than Matthew Payne. Let's just see what time Matthew did. He did a 207.971 the previous lap. This time, yeah, 207.262, so the two at the front are getting quicker. Tommy Grant 207.725, and if you look at the lap times of both Compton and Sunderland, they are in the 209s. So definitely one battle between Payne and Grant. Compton and Sunderland are in their own little battle, and then Martin is going to have a fairly lonely race there.
Yeah, exactly. He's sort of fallen into a bit of a no man's land, and well, for Matthew Payne at the front, really, really good to see that lap time just chipping away, getting quicker and quicker now at 207.2. But yeah, Grant as well responding, trying to keep tabs of him, and himself sets a personal best. It's not quite a personal best that puts him onto the rear end of the Lotus Evora in front, but it's a personal best that gets him just a little bit closer to matching the pace. And as a driver, when you're matched with someone out there so closely, you're pushing each other to the limits, these things do tend to happen. You do tend to sort of follow the driver in front, you do tend to sort of learn their lines. It'll be interesting to see though when Simon Hill gets in